Tuesday. But
Oh my days. Sorry, we've got to do that again. Oh dear man, what did
right,
I?
okay.
Right. So welcome to the football referee. I am Emmy Hikins and he calls me bruv.
And I'm Trevor Gear, and he calls me Cuz.
Right. So yeah,
We'll
man.
get there.
Right. So I believe there's an international a match coming up on the 17th of October. I think England playing Greece. Um,
Yeah, that's a game, isn't it? But I'm not sure of the date. This weekend coming is an international break weekend, so there's no Premier League football or probably Championship as well. So usually the internationals are on the Friday and the Tuesday. So I'm not sure. You mentioned the 17th, which is, I think, Thursday next week. I wouldn't have thought it would be that close to the following weekend's Premier League. So it
all right.
presumably has got to be either Friday or Tuesday. And indeed, there's normally two games, aren't there? So I
Yeah.
haven't researched this. I must apologise, but
All right.
certainly England will be playing Greece on one of those days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might be wrong actually, because I don't I thought I heard it somewhere and I thought I saw it, but I might have seen something else. But yeah. And what so Jack Grealish,
Yeah.
he's on about not being fielded by Gareth Southgate. Now I can't remember if he I think he was fielded in one of the games or two of the games.
No,
Uh
he wasn't taken, was he?
was he
He
not?
was he was dropped in
All right.
initially they choose so many players, about 30 or whatever. They then have to reduce it down from I think it's 32 to 23, something like that. And Jack Grealish was not included,
Right.
which I felt was a mistake, I have to say, because A, he's a great impact sub when he comes on, and B, he can start a game. He will be excellent, sort of tying up defenders. Two or three of them instantly are drawn to him when he's got the ball,
Yeah,
which creates space elsewhere. So I can understand why he felt frustrated.
he did.
And I am well aware, bruv, that you were one of Gareth Southgate's biggest fans, but I did say at the time I think he was making some mistakes. To answer that, then.
Well, in my defense, he goes to the finals. And I
Well,
think
yeah, I
that's
think so. We did, of course.
yeah, he goes to the finals. So, yeah. Well,
Okay, on
uh,
that point, let me just pick you up there then.
right,
I
okay.
mean, there is a valid discussion. I think we both said before that we have a lot of respect for Gareth Southgate. Of course
Yeah.
we do. But on the basis that I believe you were certainly a bigger fan of him and his tactics than I was, would you have been quite happy if he'd have decided to stay on as manager for the next tournament?
That's a very good question. That is a very good question. And I think only time will answer that question. I say that because what if Lee Carson then doesn't make it past a quarterfinal match, for instance, at the next England international? Then what? And that's what I'm waiting for. But
Mm,
to answer that question interimly, I would say that I would have been happy if he stayed on. I would have been happy if he stayed on. And the reason, I'm going to give a reason why. So the reason would have been that eventually, eventually he would have corrected his mistake or whatever he wasn't or whatever he needed to do differently. He would have done something differently. Because sometimes um like the people that make the most successful people. I'm not talking about people that inherited some form of success from their parents. I'm talking about people that really grafted from
mm.
scratch to get their success engine going. They are failures. Most of them are failures. They failed woefully. They failed in one venture after the other and failed until they made it. from
Mm.
scratch to get their success engine going, they are failures. Most of them are failures. They failed woefully. They failed in one venture after the other and failed until they made it. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
basing it on. I'm thinking, you know what? All right, so he was a bit not his tactics one one properly suited, you know. And it's a learning curve. He would have eventually got something right, eventually. And I can see, I can see your disapproval, facial disapproval there, and I respect that. And I respect that.
But
And
he'd only been
I'm waiting for you
he'd
to
only been
say,
the manager for what he was the manager for about 15 years. So he's taking a long while. No, he wasn't really, but he was there a few years. Was it 8 years he had?
yeah,
Which would be long enough for him to have arrived at the place you were suggesting he would.
yeah,
I don't think he would willingly have changed his tactics. And in some ways, you can't blame him because if a manager, if that's the way he believes you play, and Roy Hodgson was another case very similar, he
yeah,
believes you get a strong defence, you've got a great goalkeeper and a defence that doesn't leak too many goals, and you build from there. The
yeah,
trouble is, it can be going into matches, which I think managers like that often do. They go in determined not to lose rather than let's really try to win. So you predominate with defending and tactics and team setups, which are, parking the bus is the expression sometimes, without focusing too much on attacking. And maybe that's why Gareth Southgate didn't want to take the likes of Grealish and one or two others who we might have thought would have been in the team. But also, when I think of people like Eze and Walton, they barely got a kick. They weren't even brought on to try and change the way we were playing because incredibly, we got so close to winning it, but on a very I don't know what the word is. I won't say boring, but a very unattractive style of playing. I think part of the thrill of football today is it's very tribal. So you get this great passion for your own team, which ultimately is good as long as it doesn't breed some of the hooliganism of years gone by. Generally today, football is played in a good environment and just very tribal. And fans are passionate about their team, and they love the excitement. So if some of that excitement is withdrawn because of the style and tactics of a manager who's ultra defensive, something is missing. And although some fans would say, well, be careful what you wish for, because average teams in the Premier League who've wanted more excitement have found when they've changed a manager who is more attacking, they've actually been relegated. I mean, there's teams down the years like Charlton that might apply to, possibly Portsmouth, certainly Reading. They've dropped like stones when there's been a managerial change for the fans demanding exciting football. So you've got to strike the balance, and I absolutely understand that, and I don't dislike or disregard Gareth Southgate's achievements. I think he did very well to qualify and do well in these tournaments, but I think the time had come for